Today on Chapman News, we have the latest from Washington and Wall Street, a threat of higher tariffs and big swings on the stock market.
I'm Caroline Chang. The Trump administration wants to do away with DEI. Coming up, I'll tell you how some universities are responding.
I'm Maddie Fabricant reporting live from Huntington Beach. From restricted books to contended plaques, I have all the news surrounding the latest controversies happening here at the public library. That plus weather, sports, and more coming up on Chapman News.
From Dodge College of Film and Media Arts, this is Chapman News.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. Welcome to Chapman News. I'm Angela Hara.
And I'm Xavier Rose. The U.S. stock market has had another dramatic day.
That's right. Investors have been reacting to President Trump's announcement that he now plans a 50% tariff on Canadian steel and aluminum imports. With the market having just closed, let's take a look at those numbers. After plunging as much as 700 points, the Dow finished the trading day down about 500 points. Investors are also responding to an interview with Fox where Trump did not dismiss the possibility of a recession.
I hate to predict things like that. There is a period of transition because what we're doing is very big.
Investors are also nervously waiting to see if Congress will pass a spending bill to avoid a government shutdown.
Secretary of State Marco Rubio has announced that the Ukraine has agreed to an immediate 30-day ceasefire in its war with Russia. This comes after a meeting in Saudi Arabia with other top diplomats. Ukraine has been under highlighted pressure from the White House since President Zelensky's continuous visit to Washington on February 28th.
Former financial executive Mark Carney is Canada's Prime Minister designate, and he is not backing down in the brewing trade war with the U.S. Carney is a former Goldman Sachs investment banker and ex-governor of both the Bank of Canada and the Bank of England. He is promising to address Canada's housing crisis and push for economic reform. He also says he'll fight the Trump administration's tariffs.
And Donald Trump, as we know, has put, as the Prime Minister just said, unjustified tariffs on what we build, on what we sell, on how we make a living. He's attacking Canadian families, workers, and businesses, and we cannot let him succeed. And we won't.
Canada's next federal election is set for October, but there is speculation Carney could call it earlier.
There are massive layoffs planned for the Federal Department of Veteran Affairs, which is expected to impact VA hospitals around the country. Veteran Affairs Secretary Doug Collins says the goal is to eliminate 80,000 jobs or 15% of the department's workforce. He says that will return the VA to its 2019 employment levels. There are concerns the cuts will hurt health services for veterans. Collins acknowledges the impact the layoffs will have on VA workers. Many are veterans.
There have been a lot of news coverage regarding recent layoffs at the VA. Now, we regret anyone who loses their job. And it's extraordinarily difficult for me, especially as a VA leader, and your secretary to make these types of decisions. But the federal government does not exist to employ people. It exists to serve people.
The layoffs are expected to take place as early as June and are a part of the Trump administration's plan to dramatically slash the size of the federal workforce.
Plans to mark the 50th anniversary of Huntington Beach Library have turned into major political debate. Our Chapman News reporter Nathaniel Rudolph has more on the story.
At first glance, a plaque might not seem controversial. However, here at Huntington Beach, the decision to use the acronym MAGA on the library's 50th anniversary plaque has sparked intense debate. Some call it inappropriate, and some call it a patriotic message.
Our library is a public institution. The library is for the people, of the people. It should not have any partisan ideology injected into it.
The Huntington Beach City Council, now under full Republican control, approved the plaque unanimously, despite public opposition. The city says private donors will cover the estimated $7,000 cost, avoiding the use of taxpayer funds. Councilwoman Gracie Vandermark argues the plaque is meant to combat polarization.
Our plaque doesn't have a MAGA slogan. It's got Build Back Better, which was said by President Biden, and it includes hope and change, which was said by President Obama. We don't mind having Democratic presidents' history shown in our plaque.
Kathy Ryder, with the group Protect Huntington Beach, has been vocal in its opposition. She explains their response.
I anticipate that when the installation is ready to occur, that there is probably going to be a real public outcry, and I anticipate there will be some kind of a protest event.
MAGA is explicitly a Nazi movement.
Former NFL player Chris Cluey protested at a recent city council meeting and was arrested for disturbing the assembly.
It shows that a lot of people are afraid, I think, right now, are confused about what's happening in our country, let alone what's happening in our city. And they appreciated somebody going up there and saying this is unacceptable.
He's accusing all of us of being Nazis just because he doesn't agree with us. We don't have to agree, but there's no need for him to insult a whole community.
For now, plans are moving forward to display the plaque at the library. Opponents say they will continue to fight against it. One thing is clear. This plaque has made waves well beyond the walls of the Central Library. This is Nathaniel Rudolph reporting for Chapman News.
All right, in addition to the MAGA plaque, there's yet another controversy involving the Huntington Beach Library.
Chapman News reporter Maddie Fabricant is live in Huntington Beach with the story. Maddie?
Thanks, Angela and Xavier. I'm live at the Huntington Beach Library, where fierce debates have been heating up over what books young readers should have availability to read. The American Library Association reports last year there were more than 1,100 books targeted for censorship. It's an ongoing dispute in Huntington Beach, where the City Council established a board to review the children's book collection at the public library. Now, a number of advocacy groups are suing the city on behalf of 3 Huntington Beach citizens, 2 unnamed teenagers, and the nonprofit group Alianza Translatinx. ACLU attorney Jonathan Markovitz says the City Council is illegally censoring children's and young adult books from the library, violating the state's Freedom to Read Act. If the book review board is established, Markovitz says it could lead to the discrimination of the library's entire curated children's collection.
Things like Shakespeare, To Kill a Mockingbird, youth Bibles, anything that has a baguette in it would count as sexual content.
Markovitz also says it's hypocritical to not allow high school students to check out some library books without parental permission. And yet, 17-year-olds can enlist in the military or pre-register to vote. Chloe Rios Wyatt agrees. She is president and founder of Alianza Translatinx, a plaintiff in the lawsuit.
It's information that needs to be there. Our community needs to have access to that. And LGBTQI people should be represented, not erased.
City Council member Gracie Vandermark insists they are not censoring books, instead only moving those with what they call inappropriate sexual content, including books with LGBTQ content, to the adult sections of the library, in an effort to, quote, protect Huntington Beach's children.
California has not only failed to protect our children, it has actively facilitated the abuse upon them.
Thanks for the live updates, Maddie. Many questions remain in dispute between the Orange County Board of Supervisors and the county treasurer. The supervisors made the unusual move of taking control over the county's $17 million investment portfolio away from the treasurer, Sherry Frieden Rich. The move was criticized by other elected officials. According to the Voice of OC, the supervisors say it was necessary because Frieden Rich has created a hostile workplace environment. The supervisors say their priority is financial stability for the county.
If this is not an issue of a risk to the funds, it is an effort to fix problems that were outlined by the chairman. It is because those efforts have failed through, in my opinion, an unwillingness of the department head to make the proper fixes.
Frieden Rich has not publicly commented on the supervisor's actions.
Experts are concerned about increased pressure on the Orange County housing market as LA homeowners displaced by the January wildfires look for temporary accommodations. The rebuilding process will be a challenge. Over 16,000 properties were destroyed in LA County, with losses possibly topping $30 billion in the Palisades and Altadena neighborhoods. Trumark Homes Vice President of Community Development, Eric Nelson, says more people will look to move into Orange County, and yet Nelson tells Chapman News there's already a low supply of available homes.
It's a very expensive place to live, and our housing production is at such a low level right now that we're not able to keep up with the demand.
Nelson also notes there will be an influx of out-of-state laborers due to an ongoing shortage of construction workers, and those laborers will also require housing.
I'm Caroline Chang. Coming up, an arrest in the wildfires in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. That story plus a rainy local forecast here in OC.
And I'm Yasmine Bari. Coming up in sports, it's NFL free agency week and a major update in March Madness. Don't go away, we'll be right back.
What are you doing in there?
What's that?
I wouldn't do that. What are you doing? What are you looking for?
Eva Marie smoked 12,000 packs of cigarettes over 15 years. She quit, and now there's a new lung cancer screening that could save her life. You stopped smoking. Now start screening. No matter how much you smoked, early detection could save you. Talk to your doctor or learn more at savedbythescan.org.
I don't remember how it started.
Go to that.
Our back and forth. It always came back. Dad! You probably don't remember what you told me,
That was perfect.
but I heard every word.
An Orange County teenager's invention could help detect wildfires in their early stages. The invention by 17-year-old Ryan Honoree of Newport Beach began as a science fair project. He's developed it into a company now called Sensor AI. The system is designed to immediately alert firefighters when a fire breaks out. The device uses 3 sensors to detect flames, smoke, and heat. Honoree's first deployment of the sensors was last month in Irvine. He's working with that city and the Orange County firefighters to deploy several new sensors in the coming weeks.
Wildfires are sparking all over the East Coast, from New Jersey to the Carolinas.
That's right. A fire near Myrtle Beach, South Carolina is one of the largest. Here to tell us the latest is Caroline Chang. Carol?
Thank you, Xavier and Angela. Behind me is the current fire map of the Carolinas area. Right here is Myrtle Beach, where the Covington Drive fire is currently burning. But as of Sunday, it was reported as 55% contained. However, in its destructive wake, it has ravaged more than 2,000 acres of land. And among another 175 different fires, it is still one of the largest. Alexandria Biolso, a 40-year-old woman, has been arrested and charged for sparking this fire from her fire pit. If convicted, she could face up to 30 days in jail and possible fines. She was released on Friday after posting a $7,500 bond. But now those weather conditions in Myrtle Beach, unfortunately not still looking too good, breezy and dry for the rest of this week. But let's dive into our national weather forecast, where we're actually going to be seeing another wave of severe weather. A little deja vu moment for us here. Starting here on the West Coast, those storms are going to be starting here, but the main story is going to be down here in the middle of America. Once again, Arkansas, Louisiana, and Texas. You're not seeing anything right here, right now, but it's going to really happen on Friday with tornadoes, hail, and winds. Meanwhile, Meanwhile, back on the East Coast, like I was talking about, those wildfires, seeing a brush fire up here in Long Island, mostly contained now, but it's going to be dry. And then down here in Orlando, saw a tornado recently with up to 115 miles per hour. But let's look at what's happening down here in Orange County. It's weather that we haven't seen really before. It's actually raining. Now let's dive into that OC weather forecast. We just had those daylight savings, but we're not going to get those great sunlight this week. So let's break this down into the rain for the 5-day Fenestra forecast. So starting here on Tuesday, it is raining today. A little lull on Wednesday. Thursday, we're going to be hit with the most rain. 2 a.m. is actually when it's going to hit. So most people not on the road, but better be at home snugly in bed. So definitely bring your umbrella and a jacket with a hood. But we're going to get a little hot second of a break here coming into the weekend. So definitely get a little moment there. But that'll be it for me today. Stay dry and make sure to take out your rain stompers this week. I'm Caroline Chang, and this has been the weather.
Thank you, Caroline. Speaking of nature, the National Park Service has laid off nearly 1,000 employees as part of the recent Trump administration's federal job cuts. In response, protests have erupted at national parks across the nation. At Yosemite here in California, employees rappelled down the iconic El Capitan and displayed a huge upside-down flag, a symbol of distress. A former Yosemite employee says that she was inspired by the protest.
People across the country agree that our public lands are important and the people who caretake those lands should be respected and treated with dignity.
As a result of the job cuts, visitors to the national parks are being warned they may encounter reduced services and hours as well as longer lines.
3 people in California have been infected with measles as the U.S. continues to see the number of cases grow. California's first case of measles this year came after an infant who had the highly infectious disease arrived at LAX last month after overseas travel. Measles has been reported in 12 states this year, resulting in 2 deaths. In West Texas, the death of a 6-year-old last month marked the first death of measles in the U.S. in 10 years. Dr. F. Perry Wilson, an associate professor of public health at Yale, has stressed just about how infectious measles really is.
It is the most infectious human virus, more infectious than COVID, more infectious than HIV.
The United States declared measles eliminated in 2000, but in recent years has noticed annual cases rise. The CDC recorded a jump from 59 cases in 2023 to 285 in 2024. Both the CDC and the California Department of Public Health recommend getting the measles vaccines to prevent infection.
There's a shortage of nurses nationwide, and Southern California hospitals have been feeling the impact. A recent report by the Health Resources and Services Administration, Health Workforce predicts a 26% decline in registered nurses nationwide by 2036. Stephen Leong is a traveling nurse based in Tacoma, Washington, meaning he is hired to work understaffed hospitals on weekly or monthly basis.
It really is burnout. It's going to be hard to replace people who don't want to show up to work again. And it's going to be hard to convince people to show up to work when there's nobody working.
Hospitals and nursing schools are trying to address the nursing shortage with incentives and new training programs. Unions representing healthcare workers know that the shortage has a negative impact on patient care. There's lots of commotion in the football and basketball worlds this week.
That's right. Our sports reporter Yasmine Bari has the latest. Yasmine.
Thanks, Xavier and Angela. More news out of the NFL. Now, according to the calendar, free agency doesn't officially begin until tomorrow afternoon. So how is it that my home team, the 49ers, have lost 7 players to free agency? According to CBS Sports, the real action started yesterday with the legal tampering period. Players are allowed to agree on contract terms with a new team. However, contracts can't be signed until tomorrow. Former Steelers running back Najee Harris has reportedly signed a 1-year, $9.25 million deal with the LA Chargers. After releasing Gus Edwards and potentially losing J.K. Dobbins in free agency, this helps fill a hole at the running back position for the Chargers. As March Madness approaches, let's dribble our way into the latest basketball news. This past weekend, the UCLA women's team took home the Big Ten championship title against their rivals USC. UCLA and USC are once again the two best teams in the Big Ten women's basketball. USC beat UCLA twice during the regular season, which was UCLA's only losses. This major win for UCLA may have helped them secure the #1 overall seed in the upcoming NCAA women's tournament. However, it wasn't easy. UCLA's center, Loren completely changed her game in the fourth quarter.
I think it was just like the mentality that I had going in the second half, that I was just going to keep being aggressive, and Kiki spoke to me in the locker room as well.
She made 3 blocks in the final 10 minutes of the game and gave UCLA 6 points by powering through a double team for a layup in the last 45 seconds. Moving on to NCAA men's basketball, #1 ranked Auburn has fallen 1 spot in the ratings. Duke took advantage of Auburn's back-to-back losses to steal the #1 spot for the first time since 2021. When the Blue Devils play in this week's quarterfinals, they will be the #1 seed after defeating Wake Forest and NC Chapel Hill last week, while Auburn will remain the #1 seed in the SEC. Selection Sunday is this weekend, when we will see which teams make it into March Madness. That's all for sports this week. I'm Yasmine Bari, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you, Yasmine. We'll keep a lookout for that March Madness. References to diversity, equity, and inclusion are quietly disappearing from university websites. Coming up, we'll tell you how and why this is happening.
No instruments? No problem. Chapman University's sound check continues to hit all the right notes. More on the story coming up.
During high school, I hung with the wrong crowd and I never graduated.
I helped Santiago in many different ways, like all fathers do, because he always wanted to go to college.
I felt a little embarrassed to come back to school, but eventually, once I came here, I knew that it's for a bigger goal.
He was very dedicated, hardworking. He connected with his teachers, he connected with other students. That was one of the key reasons why he was able to keep forging ahead.
It was amazing to see him graduate. This was one thing that meant so much to him, and of course, it meant so much to us too.
With the help of my father and having my son, that was all the motivation that I needed. That support is everything.
Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org.
Jason, let's go see your room.
No, that's not right.
How was it? Is it good?
Welcome back. The No DEI directive from the Trump administration has put tens of thousands of schools and universities at risk of losing federal funding.
Our Caroline Chang joins us now with the story. Caroline?
Thank you, Xavier and Angela. The Trump administration's order has been described as vague, and schools and universities here in Southern California are struggling to understand just what that means. When he was running for president, Trump called DEI in education leftist indoctrination and vowed to get rid of, quote, wokeness. Many colleges see DEI as a way to meet the needs of increasingly diverse student populations. Chapman University's DEI efforts have been featured prominently on the university's website, but opponents say DEI has encouraged discrimination and works against merit-based hiring and promotion. Trump said universities had until February 28th to comply or lose funding. Chapman News reached out to Cal State Fullerton, Cal State Long Beach, and Chapman University for reaction to the president's ban on DEI. All declined to comment. However, what we did observe is how any mention of DEI is being removed from several university websites. For example, Cal State Fullerton's Office of DEI was at the top of online search results at the end of February. But now the site has been renamed to the Office of Engagement and Belonging. This change is not just on Cal State Fullerton's website, but also USC, UC Irvine, and Cal State Long Beach. There are also some universities like Ohio State and the University of Virginia who have scrapped these offices entirely, whereas USC has merged its DEI staffers with Office of Culture, Ethics, and Compliance. Recently, the Federal Department of Education appeared to walk back parts of the Trump order, saying a program that uses the terms diversity, equity, or inclusion is not necessarily unlawful. So the confusion continues, with universities uncertain what future efforts to make higher ed more accessible. I'm Caroline Chang reporting. Back to you.
Thank you, Caroline. It's now been 1 month since LA Public Schools banned cell phone use in classes. Each day, students arriving for school must now place their phones in a magnetically sealed pouch where they are provided by the district. The students are able to keep their phones with them during school hours but cannot use them. This policy also includes smartwatches, earbuds, and smart glasses. But in case of an emergency, the district says students will have use for their devices.
From campus concerts to national competitions, Chapman Soundcheck is making a name for themselves in the a cappella world.
They're creating music with just their voices. Reporter Courtney Kim is here to give us an inside look on what makes this group stand out from the rest. Take it away, Courtney.
Thanks, you two. No instruments? No problem. Chapman University's Soundcheck continues to hit all the right notes, and I had the opportunity to speak to two of the members. Take a look. Since 2007, Chapman University's Soundcheck have been bringing vocals, passion, and energy to the a cappella scene. With raw talent and teamwork, they continue to make their mark in the scene. I spoke to two members, and this is what they had to say.
Because I think something we did a great job of doing this year was just cultivating like a beautiful space full of people who love doing music together and most importantly, love each other.
Quo, a first year in Soundcheck, already has lots to look forward to, including Spring Serenade, barbershop quartet style.
This spring, you can hire a Soundcheck barbershop quartet.
Alongside strong harmonies, vocal percussion brings the energy and depth. That's where Richie Amarias comes in.
My name is Richie Amarias. I'm a junior political science major, and this will be my second year in Chapman Soundcheck. I serve as the group's vocal percussionist, just essentially a beatboxer, the guy making beatboxy sounds, and I also sing baritone.
While this award-winning group continues to collect trophies, Soundcheck remains humble.
I know that this year our set was called, we actually named our set, it was titled, I'll Be Kinder to Myself, and the set sort of focused on finding love through a group, self-acceptance, self-love, and fighting through self-doubt.
Whether it's a surprise serenade or a full stage performance, Soundcheck continues to bring incredible a cappella music to Chapman University. If you want to book a serenade or catch more of their performances, make sure to follow them on all their socials at Chapman Soundcheck. I'm Courtney Kim, Xavier, and Angela. Back to you.
Thank you, Courtney. Coming up, we talk live with a graduate student filmmaker here at Dodge College who is getting rave reviews for his film about middle school students' struggle and resilience.
If you love them enough to drive an hour to cheer them on as they get beat 11-0 in the rain, then truly you'll check NHTSA.gov/the right seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat.
Good afternoon. I'm Natalie Ross. And I'm Samantha Thomas.
Good afternoon and welcome to Chapman News. I'm Stephen.
Good afternoon. Welcome to this week's edition of Chapman News.
Since 2010, Chapman News has been covering weather, entertainment, sports, politics, and news, broadcasting from Dodge College's Marionette Studios.
As the only live newscast in Orange County, our journalists aim to highlight local, statewide, and national communities.
We're here to provide the most accurate, engaging, and relevant news for our community.
Tune in to our nationally recognized and award-winning newscast, Chapman News.
Watch locally on Channel 6 or on our YouTube to stay updated with the latest.
A Dodge College graduate student has received national recognition in a high-profile student film competition. Juan Zuluaga is pursuing his master's degree in film production. He won the Outstanding Directorial Achievement Award at the Directors Guild of America's Students Film Award. His film, Before the Winter, is about a middle school girl who keeps a diary describing the harsh realities of her home life and what happens when the diary falls into the hands of her teacher. Assi says that he was surprised to learn his film had won in the DGA competition. After graduation, Assi said he wants to continue making movies telling stories that resonate with audiences. And we welcome Juan to Chapman News set to tell us more about his award-winning film. Hey, so what inspired you to actually make the film?
I guess for me, well, first of all, thank you so much for having me here today. For me, what resonated the most the moment I read the script was the place of love where this little girl came from when she decided to commit what we could call a sin. Because at the end of the story, we go through a journey on the film where she basically loses her innocence. But for me, what resonated was the idea that that journey was catalyzed by love, and the most important of all the loves, which is the love for one's mother.
Right, right. And Juan, you received an award for this. So what does that award mean exactly for you?
I mean, I see it, I think, as a chance, a possibility for especially someone like me who's an international student in the US and wants to stay and make films here. It's a possibility to have that, to meet people, to network with people who could potentially give me a chance to work in the industry. But it's also like honoring not my voice personally, but the voice of the entire team that got together and made this film. So yeah, I would say that's what it means to me.
That's amazing. And what impact does winning the legendary award mean to you exactly? Like
the impact you mean in other people, or how it did impacted me personally?
Yes.
I guess it reminded me that I can direct. And more than that is that as long as you are truthful to your ideas, to your vision, to what you believe in, more than that, you can get people to connect with, which is what we all hope for, to make stories that resonate in other people and create that impact in other people. So it's not so much about what it cost in me, but what I can see cost in the audiences. Yeah.
Right, and speaking of the audiences, what is the message that you would like to share with your audience, Juan?
I mean, I'm gonna refer to filmmakers in general, because I mean that's what I am, but honestly I think awards are not what's important. I mean, it's cool to have them, it's really fun, but I think my biggest message for everyone would be just be truthful to what you believe in and tell the stories you want to tell. Don't sell yourself, don't try to make films because you want accolades, because you want prestige. Just do what you think is going to cause an impact on audiences. And even if just one person changes because of your movie, then your job is done. Your job is complete. So
that's powerful.
That's what matters.
That's very powerful. And what projects are next for you?
I'm right now editing my latest film. It's a short film, and I'm hoping to release it in May.
Very nice. We'll be looking forward to that, Juan. We thank you so much for joining us here live in the studio. And that's going to be all for this week's edition of Chapman News. I'm Angela Jara.
And I'm Xavier Rose. We'll see you next week.
He's waving wherever.